for being here tonight. It's always just such a neat, such a neat ceremony, and we've always enjoyed honoring our teams from our freshmen all the way up to the varsity and celebrating their successes. And I want to thank the parents and the volunteers who make this kind of thing possible. It's a great tradition. We have great tradition on the field, and how our players carry themselves in the community. But we also have a great tradition of support from the parents, from the community, and nights like this just reflect that. And it was another tremendous year for Ranger football. There's lots of great times, great memories, and of course we want to pay tribute to our seniors who are moving on, and of course encourage our juniors, sophomores, and freshmen who still have work to do. And we had great seasons at all levels, and but those things do not happen by accident. They happen as a result of a lot of people and a lot of groups pulling together towards a common goal. And we're just fortunate. Michael Wall and his staff here at the high school just provide tremendous support. Say behind the scenes, but up front too. It's always better when everybody's going towards the same thing. When we're not pulling against each other. And he and his staff and the support we get from them is very uncommon. It's been a while since I've been at other places, but I have been at other places, and I certainly have friends at other places, and I know that what we have is special. And likewise, we're continue to be blessed with an excellent staff of assistant coaches. Oftentimes in a program the size of ours and the magnitude of ours, a lot of the players get a lot of publicity and a lot of credit for what goes on, as they should. They're the ones actually out on the field doing it. And then when the game is over, some of those guys are on broadcast, they're on TV, they're getting interviewed by the newspaper, doing radio broadcasts. And same thing with the head coach. He's got a camera in his face. And, a lot of times the work of the assistant coaches go unnoticed, but not by our players, and certainly not by the head coach. And I don't think by our community, but there's about a 5-month period there to where those guys are working seven days a week, and tremendous hours within each of those 7 days, and this goes on. And obviously to do something like that, something else has to give. Because they're still working, they're still teaching during the day, they're still doing that on into the evening, on the weekends, etc. And the time they sacrifice away from their families, away from their other parts of their job it doesn't go unnoticed by me. And I think our players feel the same way. And I'm very proud of these men and their wives who sacrifice so much, having to sometimes run the house by themselves, while those guys are gone. So I'd like to introduce them now before we get to our players, and ask them to stand. And if you would, we'll just hold our applause till all the coaches are introduced, and then we'll give them all the round of applause they deserve. I want to start with our trainers. Of course, Brian Zettler and Rodney Murray. They're both here, I believe, if they'll stand. Coaching our offensive line, we use 2 coaches there. Coach Robert Touton, been here a number of years, and James Cook. They're both here. Coaching our safeties is Coach Doug Ulbrich. Our defensive coordinator, working with our linebackers, has for every year that I've been here. Coach Craig Worstifer. Working with our wide receivers, Coach Bryn Jones. Our defensive ends are coached by Coach Chad Haug, who also serves as our head freshman coach. He'll introduce those guys here in a bit. Working with our defensive tackles, Coach Ishan Risen. Coaching our cornerbacks and also working with our kickers are Coach Brian Worstifer. And our running backs are coached by Coach Josh Samora. Our tight ends and fullbacks in his second stint here at Smithson Valley are very fortunate to be coached by Coach Tony Trevino. And our offensive coordinator and working with our quarterbacks is Coach Glenn Hill. Those are our varsity coaches. We also have a handful of coaches who work primarily with the sub-varsity, and they're here tonight. Coach Chad Kell, Coach Alan Lynch, Coach Jason Thomason, and Coach Lane Bowman. So I'm very proud of these men and the work that they do, and I'd like for you to give them a round of applause. Thank you, man. Appreciate all that you do. And we're going to start with our sub-varsity teams as we do each year. We're going to introduce our freshmen and our JV and then talk a little bit about some of our support staff, our video crew, our student trainers, recognize them, all of these groups for everything that they do. And then we'll watch a little highlights and kind of settle in and introduce the varsity. So with regard to the freshmen, I would like to, first of all, thank Allison Wilson and Tawny Day. They served as our freshman parent reps. We typically get one of those coming from the Spring Branch middle school crowd and one from the Smithson Valley middle crowd to kind of bring those groups together to form our freshman team. They did a fabulous job of organizing our parents, disseminating information, just keeping the parents and the players all on the same page. And I thank them both for being here tonight and for their role in what they did for our freshmen all year. This is another great class. This is another class that's going to make some noise in the next, 3 years. Played 2 teams. We had 7-3 record with our blue team, 5-5 with our white team. Very, very impressed with how they carry themselves, how they play. We're really excited about their future, what the improvement they're already making this spring, and looking forward to spring training and, of course, moving into their sophomore year. As I mentioned earlier, Coach Chad Haug, who's our defensive end coach, but also serves as the head freshman coach. So I'm going to get out of the way and let Coach Haug talk about our freshmen. So, Coach, if you'll come forward and bring our players with you. Thank you.
Okay, guys, if y'all can start coming down. While we're waiting on them to come down, just got a couple things I want to, the highlights that we had this year. Again, like Coach said, I want to thank our parent reps for helping with all those sudden things that pop up and, being the go-between the parents and getting that information out there. I appreciate that. This freshman football team had a combined record of 12-8. The white team had a 5-5 record, while the blue team had a 7-3 record. Both teams cumulatively had 5 shutouts, outscored their opponents 21 points or more on 9 occasions. Notable wins: white team beating Judson with a score of 34-8, and the blue team finished the season by beating a resilient Steel team 16-6 to finish out the year. Okay, that first group of guys, if you guys would come forward. They're going to come forward here and they're going to stand, and I'm going to call them one at a time, and they're going to stand up. If y'all wouldn't mind holding the applause until this group of guys are done, and then they'll get off, and the next group will come up after that. Okay, as I call your name, go ahead and step forward. Trey Morgan, defensive back, wide receiver. Brody Day, defensive back, wide receiver. Dylan Binka, defensive back, wide receiver. Eli Redding, defensive back, wide receiver. Cade Spradling, linebacker, quarterback. Daniel DeHoyas, defensive back, wide receiver. Owen Vick, linebacker, fullback. Braddock Smith, defensive line, fullback. Preston Baker, defensive line, tight end. Andrew Smith, defensive back, fullback. Brad Sowersby, defensive back, running back. Blake Allen, defensive back, wide receiver. Hudson Pattison, linebacker, tight end. Mason Boland, linebacker, tight end. Please give these guys a round of applause. P.K. Moeller, defensive back, wide receiver. Bo Martin, defensive line, wide receiver. Daniel Grant, defensive line, offensive line. Gabe Rodriguez, defensive line, offensive line. Tyler Gibbons, defensive line, offensive line. Jacob Fouts, defensive line, offensive line. Chris Leha, linebacker, offensive line. Jackson Saul, defensive line, offensive line. Austin Bray, defensive line, offensive line. Travis Collins, defensive line, offensive line. Noah Myers, defensive line, offensive line. Landon Hudson, defensive line, offensive line. Carter Moran, defensive line, offensive line. Bradley Reed, defensive line, tight end. To conclude with this group, this young man, they had a fine freshman in season. Every game, they represented you in this community well. They displayed their class discipline effort every time, and they are continuing that right now in their off season to build true to our Smithson Valley culture. We as a coaching staff are excited about this group and are looking forward to seeing them grow in the 2022 season. This is your 2021 freshman football team. Please give them a round of applause.
Very good. Thank you, Coach Haug, and congrats to our freshmen. As our freshmen grab their seats, you can see that our JV teams are moving up to be introduced next. Much like we did with our freshmen, before we start, we'd like to thank our parent reps who assisted us being a liaison between the coaches and the parents. Amy Lopez and Chrissy Camacho served in that role for our JV teams, and notifying on practice changes, game site changes, getting them to booster events, et cetera. Just communicating, and we really appreciate all that they did. We played 2 JVs, kind of like we did with the freshmen. Our blue team was 7-3, our white team was 6-2-1, and of course, when you reach to that level, you're not only practicing a great deal and playing your games, but oftentimes you're practicing with and against one of the finer 6A teams in Texas. So it's a tough year. But we always talk to our players about pouring them through filters. It's a pretty wide filter when they start in middle school. Then each year that filter gets a little tighter and a little tighter and a little tighter, and until one day it's really hard to get through to get to play on Friday night. And this is kind of the last strainer, so to speak. And really proud of this group. Proud of what they've done, as I mentioned, and of course what they're going to do down the road. So I'm going to let Coach Jason Thomason come up, and he's going to talk about our 2 JV teams. Coach.
Yeah, had a great season. What a bunch of great young men. I just can't say enough about them. They're such a pleasure to be around. And a lot of that has to do with the parents that they have, raising them the right way. I've never been at a place where you could take somebody out and have to give them some type of punishment or whatever, and they thank you afterwards. Just good kids, These cats right here, the blue team did go 7-3, but all 3 losses, we had a chance on the last play of the game to win the game. So they were very, very competitive. The blue team, the white team, did go 6-2-1. Like Coach said, just to piggyback, the life of a JV football player is not glamorous. Okay, you show up at 6:30 with the varsity, you work against them, you have to be at certain places, and for them to do what they did and show the dedication, because they have that goal of running out of that banner with that white stripe and the number on the side of their helmet one day, just for them to show that dedication was awesome. So if we'll bring these guys up, I'll announce to you our 2021 JV football team. Okay. And again, please hold your applause to the end. After we get done with the first bunch, we'll give them their applause, okay? First, Danny McBride, tight end, quarterback, and kicker. Topher Stubbs, running back. Ryan Vela, DB. Kason Camacho, DB. Cole Freund, wide receiver. Rylan Walker, quarterback. 10, Ezekiel Devidos, DB. 11, Charles Whalen, DB. Jensen Alesko, D-line. Jackson Alder, DB. Kurt Hammock, running back. Thomas Elliott, DB. Damian Roberts, linebacker. Nick Cernahouse, wide receiver. Raiden Bear, linebacker. Reed Wagner, DB. Brady Belden, DB. Nathan Balthrop, running back. Isaiah Hackett, DB. You can give these guys a round of applause. Walk in front of them. Aiden Dade, fullback. Sean Berry, DB. Tyler McGinnis, linebacker. Nicholas Dudzikowski, linebacker. Jordan DePaulo Cardona, fullback, D-line. Braxton Alexander, linebacker. Barrett Lopez, tight end. Matt Cravens, DB. Davis Kuhn, D-line. Sam Martinez, O-line. Bennett Cote, D-line. Nolan Donovan, linebacker. Trajan Falk, O-line. Reese Anderson, O-line. Lane Richard, linebacker. Jackson Bolt, O-line. Isaiah San Nicolas, D-line. Roberto Jimenez, linebacker. Jacob DeSantis, O-line. Logan Almager, O-line. Give these guys a round of applause, please. Okay. Gavin Rodriguez, D-line. Sean Rosé, D-line. Garrett Blanchard, O-line. Drew Abear, O-line. Aiden Keck, D-line. Cade Dornberg, O-line. Cade Carriger, O-line. Devin Jordan, O-line. Dylan Garner, wide receiver. Hunter Dow, wide receiver. Anthony Garibay, wide receiver. Cameron Gibson, tight end. Jackson Tillery, wide receiver. Javion Brown, wide receiver. Trey Adams, D-line. Major Trevino, D-line. Luke Flores, D-line. Owen Hack, D-line. Joseph Gomez, D-line. Jaden Jordan, D-line. Dylan Gass, D-line. We are so proud to have these young men in our program. They're a vital part of what we're doing and our future. You're looking at the future of Ranger football. We thank you for you being here and your support. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Coach Thomason, and congrats to our JV. One more filter. One more filter. If our film crew, our video crew, and our student trainers look like they're already starting to make their way up, so Coach Cook and BZ, if you'll bring them on, we'll bring them on up. We'll get started on those introductions. So we're going to start with our video crew. Anyone who's familiar with our program, if you've ever been to a practice, you know, we got drones flying around everywhere. We got cameras. We got kids operating phones and joysticks. And you know, a lot goes on behind the scenes to make it to where we can do what we do in practice and then get off the field and get immediate feedback. But somebody has to make that possible. And we had a whole crew of video crew. Only one of them's here tonight, but Coach Cook kind of rides herd on that. And this is Connor Gale. Connor's a junior. He did all of our inputting. And by that I mean, you know, getting it from that little thing that looks like a weed eater up in the air and sounds like a weed eater, and somehow a minute or two later as practice wraps up, you know, we're able to be seated in our position meetings and watching what we just did. And his diligence allowed us to make those quick transitions to the film room, use our time efficiently, and because of him we were able to watch that practice tape, you know, before going to class. And that immediate feedback is so valuable to a team and a group of players and their coaches, and we look forward to him returning to us again next year. So we thank you, and that's Connor Gale. Next, BZ is bringing up our student trainers. We've got a big crew of them. It's the largest number of student athletic trainers we've ever had. And we're going to start with our freshmen, and we'll introduce them one at a time, and then we'll give a round of applause to all the freshmen when we're through. But want to introduce them. First year in the program, obviously have 3 more years to go, and we're excited about what they'll bring moving forward. But first we have Tatum Williams, and we have Katja Riddle, Emma Brennan, McKenna Williams, and Seth Permenter. These are our freshmen. If you'll give them a round of applause. As I said, we have a large group, but these next 4 are sophomores. And most of them are in their second year of the program, and of course still have 2 years to get ready to start maybe moving into those leadership roles. But I'll introduce them. First we have Sky Falkenberg. Tells you how long I've been here. I coached her daddy here. And now his daughter's one of the student trainers. But Presley Smith is next. Emily Baker. And Peyton Keith. And these are our sophomore student trainers. BZ in his 3rd year is bringing in some classes and walking them forward. Oftentimes, you know, student trainers don't want to do that 3rd and 4th year. And, you know, we have a large junior class here that I'll recognize now. We're excited about them, and of course, they'll be our program's leaders next year. And first we have Reagan Bolt, Layla Medina, Kara McCrae, Kylie West, Sarah Frazier, and Kinsey Armstrong. Okay, these are our 6 junior student trainers. And last, we do have one senior student trainer. It's Hannah Wilson. Of course, Hannah is our lone graduating senior. She's been in our sports medicine department for all 4 years. She's been the leader for our student athletic trainers and for years, and surely she'll be missed. And she's got a number of options as she continues her education at several universities, and wherever she goes and whatever she chooses to do, they'll be very lucky to have her, and we'll miss her. Hannah Wilson. Thank you guys and ladies for all that you do and all the hard work you put in doing the job properly. And this is your 2021 student athletic trainers. Okay, before we get to our varsity team, as we do each year, kind of take a little bit of break in the introductions, and we're going to let the screen down, and we're going to, before we talk about it, we're going to watch it. Before we talk about them, let's watch them in action. You know, it was just such a memorable year. And, Bo Wick, Bo runs the Rangers Network, does all of our broadcasts of all of our games, and of course he's got a lot of footage. So we're going to dim the lights, drop the screen down, and we'll start reliving the 2021 season.
Mata, the play action, the rollout, open man, caught, touchdown. Touchdown, Cole Douglas. Mesa pressured, throws that right to Egley, intercepted. So Camden Egley has Smithson Valley's first defensive turnover of 2021. This time it's Paphitis on the run, fields it, 40, midfield, has blockers, Paphitis, sidelines, 20, 15, stays at his feet, and he's gonna go! Braden Paphitis, the touchdown! And boy, is this part of the game and fun to watch here this evening. Lane on the carry, and spins out of a tackle, stays up, and he's in for the touchdown!
They really just dominated that drive right there. I think that's what you're going to see a lot of the rest of the ball game.
time, and this time he overthrows it and it's picked off.
Malachi Lane, big stiff arm. Flying inside of midfield, and there he goes. Takes off inside the 30. Still running inside the 15. Inside the 10, he's gonna go. Sedlik takes it himself as Sedlik stretches across the plane. It is a run for Owens, and fumbles of football is picked up by Malachi Lane. With a convoy of blockers, Lane breaking free. Malachi Lane is gonna go. Second touchdown tonight, Malachi Lane. Will be returned by Bafidas from the 2. Bafidas angling to his right, has a lane down the sidelines, accelerates inside of midfield, cuts it back inside. Braden Bafidas, 98 yards for the touchdown. Kick is blocked by Malachi Lane. Live ball picked up by Gavin Woods down the sideline, flying inside the 30, and foul with the tackle.
Kicking game. Mentioned it earlier. Huge play in the kicking game.
Mata steps up on the run, throws for Domel, has the catch, flying down the sidelines and in for the touchdown. Rangers trying to pick up their 11th straight win over the Broncos, and that will help. They're cracking into the end zone for the second time, and the Rangers have applied the nail into the coffin. Just a bit longer than an extra point, and Amaya puts the Rangers on top. Long drives in and a field goal. Punt is away, and this is Bafidas.
It's a good return setup right here.
Starting from the 34 and flying down the sidelines, Bafidas, 20, 15, 5, end zone for the touchdown. He's done it again. Good call, Joe, off the left side. Lane with his lineman trying to help him out, and he's in for the touchdown. Malachi Lane is in for the 5th time this year. Goes down as a 49-yard touchdown for Domel. Second tonight, 4 on the season. Joe and I were talking at halftime. Dylan Domel is turning into a pretty impressive player. In the backfield again, Motts is going to lean it in himself, and Smithson Valley is on top early. Back to throw, and Barone is sacked, and the ball is loose and picked up by Smithson Valley, picked up by Jackson Maynard. There again, Malachi Lane on the pressure. Clark in motion. This is Lane up the middle and in for the touchdown.
That little reverse where they pull an offensive lineman out there in front. Offensive lineman, I think that was Freeman. He was out there and kicked the corner out. Didn't slow down. Corner made a miss, but let Braden pick away. And he actually got stopped right around the 1 or 2 yard line. And then a bunch of his buddies came in and kind of helped usher him the rest of the way into the end zone.
Line of scrimmage, the 3 yard line. Mata rolling near side pass. This one caught. And a little love to the official while you're at it. Touchdown, Zach McDonald with a reception. Give on a reverse. Pulling up the pass is Clark. Got a man. Touchdown, Smithson Valley.
Domel.
Huge play. Clark to Domel with 32 seconds left to go in the half. You talk about ice water in your veins for both Mata and McDonald. They knew they had to come up big. That's exactly what they did.
That's good. The hold down, the kick up, and it looks good, and it is. Takes the snap, wants to throw, doesn't. He gets attacked by 2 or 3 different Rangers. They finally get him down.
And this is McCracken off the left side. He's going to rumble in for the touchdown. And the Rangers, an important touchdown drive, score for the first time here tonight. Mata, pump fake, now to the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown. Mata, back to pass. Hit by Lane, throws, intercepted. Donovan on the return, flying down the sidelines. Donovan cuts back, takes it inside the 20. Second pick tonight for this Ranger defense. First this year for Tanner Donovan. First play after the pick. Bafidas is going to walk in. Touchdown, Smithson Valley. Braden Bafidas, and what a turn of events. And Smithson Valley with a hard-earned first-round playoff win, down 10-0. Stormed back to take an 18-point lead. They got cut down to 3, and they will hold on for a 35-25 win over the Mavericks, and now await either the Bulldogs or the Dragons in the area round next week.
They'll give it to Lane up the middle. He's got a crease. He breaks a tackle. He's on the loose. To the 40, to the 30, to the 20. He's being pinched out. Now finally down inside the 10, but a big run for Malachi Lane as the senior running back. Big gain for the Rangers. Now an end around. Here's the touchdown-looking play as Clark avoids one tackler and then gets into the end zone. Mata with a quarterback sneak, goes up the middle, gets first down, spins off a tackler, keeps his legs turning, then fumbles the ball. It's in the end zone. The Rangers might have caught it. Don't know where they'll spot it, maybe just short. but I'm sure the Rangers got it at the end. And it's a touchdown. They threaten the blitz. Kraken up the middle, finds a seam, continues to drive his legs into the end zone. It's a touchdown for the Rangers with 5:23 to go.
Proud of the Rangers, though. Proud of the Rangers.
Proud of the Rangers and all the seniors who put forth a great effort to again finish second in District 27 6A and go in as the #1 seed of the big schools. Get an opening win over Madison and then fall to Austin Bowie here in the second round here at Bobcat Stadium in San Marcos.
Okay, good. Thank you. Just want to say thank you to Bo Wick for making that possible. That was outstanding, and that takes a little work, and so let's give Bo a hand for doing that for us. Our varsity team now will be introduced, and of course we'll spend a little bit more time on them individually. But before we start, I want to say a word of thanks to Shannon Hambrick and Sally McDonald. You know, we recognized our JV and freshman reps earlier. They served as our varsity team reps, and you know, I was telling somebody earlier, we've had a lot of great team reps through the years. We've been very blessed like that, but none have done it better than those two ladies, and they've taken a proud tradition and extended it even more. So Sally, Shannon, thank you. I appreciate you. Also want to recognize the Camacho family. They opened their homes, opened their home to our players. You know, our Wednesday night team dinners, another great tradition that we have that you know, kind of serves as a midweek get together, just a place for our players to get more bonded, to get more unified, and you know, that takes a lot of work, and I know there's a lot of parent volunteers that go into that, but we want to thank y'all for taking those players into your home, an uncommon sacrifice, and I'd like a round of applause too for them, for the Camacho family. And the last group is Bo Wick and of course his wife Emily. They're the backbone of the Rangers network. You know, all our games are broadcast, of course live now, but you can watch them archived as well. And you know, we're kind of the envy of the whole state. You know, I mean, a lot of people are live streaming games now, simply putting a camera up there and just doing a raw feed, or maybe it's one guy talking into a cell phone and broadcasting. But you know, as you know, it's a big-time production, rivals that you see on TV in the college and pro ranks. And we're very fortunate to have them. They live right in our community. They're as much a part of the fabric of Smithson Valley as anyone else, and we appreciate all that they do, not just those highlights, but on a weekly basis and really throughout the year. So, Bo, Emily, thank you. You know, this 2021 team was really born a year ago. You know, we had a tremendously successful 2020 season, and of course, as we do every year, lost some really good seniors and had some big holes to fill. And as usual, there's question marks. So would this team be able to measure up? You know, would they be able to replace those guys? Would they be able to step into leadership roles? Would they maybe have to change positions or do things that the coaching staff deemed necessary for this team to be successful? And you know, I'm extremely proud of this ball club. You know, when you play at a place that has great tradition, sometimes if you don't watch it, tradition can be a little bit of a burden, a little bit of an albatross. You know, we don't want to be the ones that mess it up. You know, and you know, you're playing from fear instead of enjoyment. And this group, you know, I'm sure they felt pressure to live up to their predecessors. I'm certain of that, and that's a good thing. But you know, they embraced it, and they took everything that went with it. One thing that goes with it, of course, is just the fact that your opponent is always lathered up and ready to play Smithson Valley. We'll never catch a team flat. will never catch a team not ready to come in and play hard because they know that they have to, based on what's been done in the past. And, this team they never flinched. There was never any reason that they couldn't excel, and there weren't any handed to them, and they weren't about to accept any. And, as always, as I said, they were targeted each week, and they played 6 playoff teams in a 12-game schedule. And, that they did things that were hard to do. But it's a fine group of young men. And, they won't play football forever. Some of them won't play anymore. Others will come back and play for us again in a year or for a year or two. Maybe we have a handful maybe that get to play after graduation. I hope that's the case if they want that. But I think more than anything, what they proved is not only can they be successful and win, but they did it in a way that makes you very confident of what kind of men they're going to be moving forward, whether that's college, the military, a job, later on husbands, dads, community leaders, businessmen. This is a fine group of young men. I think you already know that, or you probably wouldn't be here tonight. But I appreciate it. They had 54 players on the academic all-district team, which is over 3/4 of our team. So it's not just a group that can play football a little bit. They had 14 seniors be recognized as academic all-state or put on the academic all-state team. Only seniors are eligible for that. So again, these are guys that are successful in anything that they do, not just football. And when you consider the difficulty of the schedule, what they had to overcome and the kind of year that they had, the 9-3 season that they had, and they just made it so fun to coach them. It just wasn't any drama. We just showed up every day and everybody got along. And they kind of personify what we want our program to be about. I played football years ago. I know I don't look like it, but I wasn't born this old. But and I had a teammate who probably said it better than I've ever heard it said, and it certainly applies to this team. You know what I like about playing here? He's talking to me. So, you know what I like about this? And I thought he was going to talk about we were on a real good team. I thought he was going to talk about winning and what a good time we were having. He says, no, that's not what I'm talking about. He says, you know what I like about being out here? Is nobody cares about all that other stuff. Nobody cares how old they are. They don't care what color they are. They don't care anything about their mama, their daddy, if they got a mama or a daddy. No one cares who has money, who doesn't. Nobody cares what race you are. No one cares what kind of car you drive. One thing they care about is we've done this hard thing and we're doing it together, and we all got a high regard for each other. He said that 100 years ago when we were playing. I've always thought about that. That's the best way I've ever heard it described when you're talking about a football team, and it personifies this group. And so I'm excited to introduce them and brag a little bit on them, and I want to start with our offensive linemen. So Coach Touton and Coach Cook are going to come forward, and we're going to talk about our offensive line. You talk about some warriors. Now, that's who these guys are, and I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and then we'll give each player a round of applause as I finish with him. Our first is a senior, Michael Simmigan. He's played center for us. Mike's a one-year letterman. He was academic all-district. He was one of those guys on the academic all-state team, on the second team with that. Worked extremely hard in his time here and developed into a real solid backup for the 2021 season. And he had just a real understanding of the game, the complexities of the offensive line, able to identify defenses and make adjustments at the line of scrimmage, and a real team player. He was highly regarded by his teammates, and we wish Michael the best as he moves on. Michael Simmican. Next is Britt Stoley. Britt's a senior. He's a center. Britt's a two-year letterman. He was second team, he was on the academic all-district team, and he was second team all-district voted by the district coaches. He was also voted captain by his teammates. He's a two-year starter at the center position. recognized defensive fronts, directed blocking schemes at the line of scrimmage, a very athletic player who played with great effort on every snap. And he always led by example all of his years here at Smithson Valley, and we're going to miss not only his skill on the field, but his leadership as well. Britt Stoley. Next is Lorenzo Valles. Lorenzo is a senior, offensive tackle, one-year letterman, also an academic all-district player, provided depth in our offensive line, worked extremely hard, waited for his chance to be a Friday night player, and it paid off. He became a solid football player and encouraged players around him and contributed and made our offensive line better each week, and he gained the respect of those around him as he did it, and we wish him the best in the years ahead. Lorenzo Valles. Next is Robert Estes, another senior, offensive tackle, one-year letterman. He was academic all-district, and he was first team on the academic all-state team, the only player to be recognized as such. Very smart football player who understood the game and became a solid player for us both at guard and at tackle. And at times we had to move him around in order to make our offensive line complete. His work ethic gained the respect of his coaches and the players around him. And players like Robert are the reason we won games in 2021. We wish him well moving forward. Robert Estes. Next is Noah Herring. Noah's a junior. He played center for us, first year to letter. He was an academic all-district player, very versatile player, capable of playing multiple positions, not just last year, but moving forward. And provided depth for us at center primarily. A real hard worker, became very knowledgeable. I think his knowledge of the game increased as the year went on, and he made adjustments for us at the line of scrimmage, as we said with Britt earlier. And because of his commitment to Ranger football and his ability, we're expecting great things from this young man next year. We're glad to have him back. Noah Herring. Next is Nate Garza. Nate's a junior. He's an offensive guard, one-year letterman. He too was academic all-district. And in the summer, we asked him to make a position change, like we do a lot of players, and move from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side, and quickly embraced that challenge. And he attacked that opportunity and gained a lot of experience this year as a junior that's going to help him in the coming year. He brought some physicality with him and physical style, a mental attitude with him from the defensive side, and that's going to give him a real chance to make a big impact as we move forward. Glad to have him back. Nate Garza. Next is Gunnar Hansen. Gunnar's another junior. Gunnar played offensive guard for us this year as a one-year letterman. Gave us depth at the guard position, and he understood the responsibilities of next man up, which is so important in the game of football. Played some roles for us too in the special teams. And our PAT field goal protection team is expected to have a great offseason, is having one now, and is preparing to compete for a starting role next year, so we're glad to have him back. Gunnar Hansen. Tegan Owsley, a junior, offensive guard, one-year letterman. He worked really hard this year in practice and learned the ins and outs of not just being a good football player, but a consistently good football player, and we began to see that in him as the year progressed. His work ethic, I think, began to make him realize how good a football player that he has the potential to be, and his size and ability enables him to play multiple positions, and he probably still will moving forward. We're expecting great things from him in the coming year. Tegan Owsley. Next is Alex Freeman. Alex is a senior, played offensive tackle for us this year. He's a two-year letterman. He was honorable mention, voted by the coaches in the district. Great determination, and he showed that in the way he bounced back from an injury last year, earned a starting role in our offensive line this year that was so big for us, so crucial to our success. He's always concerned what was best for the O-line in the SV team. Very unselfish player, very hard-working player, prepared week in and week out to give himself a chance to be an elite football player in a district where it's tough to be one. And he was always ready for the challenge, and we wish him the best moving ahead. Alex Freeman. Next is Nick Freeman, another senior, offensive guard, 2-year letterman. He was voted to the first team, all-district team. He was also academic all-district. Has great strength and agility for a big guy. And he prepared each week. He competed against some of the best defensive tackles in the state of Texas and won on a weekly basis. And another very smart player who combined his ability with his feel for the game, his intelligence, and he gave great effort on every snap. And he's a great example on how a player should prepare for his moment. And then when it comes, compete very hard and take advantage of it. And we'll certainly miss him. Nick Freeman. Next is Ty Stone. Ty's a junior, offensive tackle, 2-year letterman. He was honorable mention all-district, and he was also an academic all-district player. Started for us all year at left tackle. That was new for him. But he set a great standard for effort and technique and preparation. He's got a great love for the game, and that shows in his work ethic, but it also shows on the field. He's not just listening to the coach and nodding his head. He's listening to the coach, he's nodding his head, and then he's going out and doing exactly like we want it done. And plays with great effort each and every snap, and his understanding of what we're doing make him a player that can play a lot of positions. And I'm sure we may consider that, but the main thing is we're looking forward to having him back for another year. Ty Stone. Next is Will Blankenship, senior, offensive tackle, 1-year letterman. Will was academic all-district. We asked, just like you've heard me say about a few others, asked him to make a position change at the beginning of the season to give us some depth in the O-line, and he accepted that challenge. And every week worked hard to learn the details of that position so that he'd be ready when his time came. And he was a team-first guy, and you need team-first guys if you're going to get where you want to go. And we greatly appreciate his loyalty and his efforts to make this a great year, and we'll miss him. Will Blankenship. Next is Colton Thomason, junior, offensive guard, 3-year letterman, first team all-district, also first team all-San Antonio, and he's academic all-district as well. And he worked very, very hard to make improvement from what was a really good sophomore year. Decided he wanted to be an elite player and made some sacrifices and some steps to become just that. And his attention to detail at his position and his effort and his leadership is very evident. It's also very evident that he has a great enthusiasm for this game. As many of you know, he's committed to Texas A&M, but he committed to Smithson Valley for 1 more year. So, and we expect him to become a great player next year, and I have every confidence that will happen, and we're excited to have him back. Colton Thomason. This is our 2021 offensive line. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going to move forward now with our linebackers. Coach Westifer, who's our defensive coordinator, also coaches our linebackers. He's going to bring those guys out on stage. Okay, we'll get started here. Our first introduction is Amari McKenzie. He's a senior. Of course, he's a linebacker. He's a 2-year letterman. Amari was honorable mention all-district, voted by the coaches of the league. He was also academic all-district, and we asked him to change positions twice. And not because he can't do it, but what is our team? Where's the best place to play him so our team has the best chance to win? Unselfishly, he nodded his head and went to work in each of those instances. He's a very explosive player. He used his closing speed to record 47 tackles on the year. 4 of those were for losses. He had a sack. He hurried the quarterback 3 times. He batted 2 balls down, made a big impact on special teams as well, covering kicks. And he always had looking for ways to improve and contribute to our team, and he did so in a big-time way. And with his desire to be the best, we know that he'll be successful in whatever's next, and he'll be missed. Amari McKenzie. Next is Malachi Lane, senior, linebacker, of course running back as well, 2-way player, 3-year letterman. He was voted first team defensive all-district team and also voted the defensive player of the year for the district. He's also voted second team all-district at the running back position. He's also first team all-San Antonio. He was academic all-district, and he was honorable mention on the academic all-state team. And his teammates voted him as one of our captains. Extremely proud young man who put a lot into playing the game of football. A lot of times talented players aren't your hardest workers because maybe they don't have to be or they think they don't have to be. That's not what describes this young man. He's a 3-year starter for us at linebacker, played running back and special teams, as I mentioned. Defensively, had 92 tackles, 12 for loss, 2 sacks. Caused a fumble, recovered 2 fumbles, ran one of those in for a touchdown. On special teams, he blocked 2 kicks. On offense, he rushed for 700 yards, 9 touchdowns. Tried to get him certified to drive the bus as well because he did about everything else for us. But he was all over the place and contributed at a high level in so many ways. But I think perhaps his best attribute might have been his leadership. His work ethic and attitude are an example of how you play this game, how you approach this game. And we're very proud of him, and we will miss him. It's Malachi Lane. Next is Wyatt Hanson, another senior, linebacker, 2-year letterman. He was second team all-district, voted by the coaches, also academic all-district. Wyatt worked hard to earn a starting role as a senior. As a junior, he's a backup, played quite a bit on the special teams, and worked extremely hard to elevate himself, and he did. On defense and in the special teams this year, he had 54 tackles. 5 of those were for loss. He had 4 sacks, hurried the quarterback 3 times, batted a ball, and had a fumble recovery. And he did that with physical skill, but also his knowledge of the game, combining those 2 things. And contributing on special teams as well. He made himself into an outstanding player. And I coached his daddy a long time ago and coached him, and he's a lot better than his dad, a lot better. And we're sorry to see him go, but we know he'll be good at whatever's next. It's Wyatt Hanson. Next, Brody Spurgeon, another senior, linebacker, 1-year letterman. Brody's a program guy, worked very, very hard to come up through the ranks. Those filters we talk about pouring them through, he made it all the way through and provided valuable depth and made the most of his opportunities on the field. He had, on the year, recorded 6 tackles, including 1 of those for loss. Had a very positive attitude, good work ethic, looking for ways to contribute, and he found them. And he's what you're looking for in a teammate, and he'll be missed. Brody Spurgeon. Next is Jonah Reno, senior, linebacker, 1-year letterman, late move-in, came to our program from another program around the state, and moved in here shortly after we got going, and was a welcome addition to our team. He took a tough situation, which is coming into a program like ours and not having a lot of background in it, but he handled it with a positive attitude, practiced extremely well, tried to help others get better. On the field, he contributed 1 tackle, played with great effort, and although we only had him for 1 season, we're proud that he was a part of Ranger football, and we'll miss him. Jonah Reno. Next is Andres Higuerado, and he's another senior, linebacker, 1-year letterman, academic all-district. Earned his way to the varsity this year and provided us depth at both outside linebacker positions and a little bit on the special teams. Player has a good nose for the ball and made the most of his opportunities when they came. On the season, he had 12 tackles, 2 for loss, and 1 pass defense, and he was always ready when his number was called, whether it was defense or in the special team. And you've got to have guys like him if you're going to get where you want to go. We're glad that we had him. Andres Higuerada. Next is Colton Shepler, senior, linebacker, 2-year letterman, first team all-district, voted by the coaches as well as academic all-district. Also, his teammates voted him as captain as well. Started for us at middle linebacker this year, provided great leadership as well as playing well between the whistles. He was on a lot of special teams unit as well, found other ways to contribute, and used his instincts to lead our team in tackles with 100 tackles, an even 100, 9 for loss, 3 sacks, 6 hurries, and he recovered 2 fumbles. And as impressive as those stats are, I think his biggest contribution, like we've said about 1 or 2 others, may have been his leadership. He always had a knack of making the right calls on the field, directing us, getting the whole group in the right call oftentimes at the last minute, and he did a great job with that, and we're certainly going to miss him. Colton Shepler. Our last linebacker, Eli Trawick, senior, linebacker, 1-year letterman. Eli earned a spot on the varsity this year, contributed both on defense and then heavily in the special teams as well, and a very unselfish player who made the team's success his #1 goal. And on the field, Eli had 8 tackles on the year, making the most of his opportunities. And if you're going to be an elite team, a playoff team, you're going to have depth, you're going to have special teams, you're going to have team guys. And that describes this young man to the T. And we're glad we had him, and we'll miss him. Eli Trawick. These are our 2021 linebackers. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're kind of combining some offensive groups here as we bring them up on the stage. We're going to introduce both our running backs and our tight ends / fullbacks. We used a hybrid position there, so sometimes these guys were in the backfield with the running back. Sometimes they're up playing tight end. Sometimes they're tight end and they split out a little bit. But we're going to bring them all up, so Coach Samora and Coach Trevino, who coached those guys, will bring them up on stage, and we'll start around the introductions. Okay, we're going to start with our running backs. Our first introduction is Travis McCracken, senior, running back, 2-year letterman, first team all-district running back, voted by the coaches of the other schools. Travis was a key player for us this year. His style of play, the way he ran, really matched philosophically what we were looking for in a tailback in our offense. Not the biggest in stature, but if you watched him play, he had no issues with collisions, and he would bring the wood, and that, along with his work ethic, his commitment to the game, and his natural instincts for playing the game, allowed him to play fast and play with confidence. He was our leading rusher. Missed a couple of games with injuries, but still finished with 905 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns, and we were blessed to have him this year, and he'll certainly be missed. Travis McCracken. Next is Isaiah Vivians. Isaiah's a junior, another running back, first year to letter on varsity, up from the JV from a year ago. Worked very hard in the offseason to provide a key, to come in and perform in a key backup role for us this year. He embraced that. And when he got his opportunities, and he did, he made the most of it. He finished with over 200 yards rushing, averaged almost 7 yards a carry, and with a good offseason, which he's already beginning to have. We're excited about the help that he can bring for next season as well, and we're glad that he's back. Isaiah Vivians. Next is Victor Onyengata, junior, running back. Vic is a one-year letterman. It was his first year on varsity, but he had kind of riddled with injuries. Had, kind of getting rid of one injury and then kind of getting another. Had fighting the injury bug most of the year, but that's unfortunate because he was beginning to show flashes. But the upside is that he does have ability, he does have great work ethic, and he does have one more year to go. So with his increased role for next year, we're excited to have him back and look forward to what 2022 brings. Victor Onyengata. Next is Doug Lance, sophomore, defensive end / running back. We'll talk about that in a minute. First year to letter, and Doug was academic all-district. Started the year at defensive end, come up through the system as a running back, his native position, if you will, but we needed him to change positions, and he did, and played extremely well in the early part of the year on defense. He had 9 tackles and a sack over there on defense, and played a lot in the special teams. But his biggest impact was when he came over and ran the football, and that role increased as the year went. Very physical running style, always has a lot of extra effort and yards after contact. Ended up with 360 yards on the year and 5 touchdowns. Got a great work ethic. He understands the game, plays the game with great enthusiasm, and of course, just a sophomore. We're excited to have him back for 2 more years. Doug Lance. We'll move into our tight end fullback roles now. Our first is Caden Kirkpatrick. Caden's a senior, played tight end and fullback, as I mentioned, 2-year letterman. He was an academic all-district player, and he was also one of our 12 academic all-state players, getting the honorable mention look there. Very valuable role for us, week in and week out. Practiced to be at his best, and made the most of his opportunities, both at tight end, fullback, but also in the special teams. And he did it the right way, did it the Ranger way. And very intelligent young man, and that quality and his work ethic will serve him well in whatever the chosen path is for him next, and we're going to miss having him around. Caden Kirkpatrick. Next is Mason Birch, a junior, tight end, 1-year letterman. Mason was an academic all-district player, getting it done in the classroom as well. He made a position change from the O-line to tight end, as others that I've mentioned here unselfishly did that, and that proved to be a good move, both for him and for our team. He played some quality roles for us as a junior, playing at both tight end positions, and the future's bright for him. As I mentioned, he's a junior. We look forward to a strong offseason and expanding his role in 2022, and we're excited to have him back. Mason Birch. Next is Cole Douglas, senior, tight end and fullback, 2-year letterman. Honorable mention all-district, voted by the coaches. He's an academic all-district player, and as a few other seniors that I've mentioned, he was a academic all-state, second team with his GPA. He kind of embodies the Ranger mindset. He's a defensive player by trade. That's what he played a year ago. We made a change with him in the offseason, and that was good for him, and that was good for us. And he accepted that and made great strides in a very short period of time. Ended up starting all 12 games for us. Played some in our special teams as well, and scored touchdown in the very first game. And his contributions were huge, and we wouldn't have been the kind of team that we ended up being without his contribution. So we thank him, and we'll miss him. Cole Douglas. Next is Dylan Domel, senior, tight end, inside receiver, 2-year letterman. He was a first-team all-district player. He was a first-team all-San Antonio player, and he was an academic all-district player. Tremendously talented player who was asked to wear a lot of hats, play outside, play inside, play tight end, play on the other side, play in the special teams. And he was a dual threat, both as a receiver and a blocker, and he shouldered the load, everything we threw at him, and it was a lot. He always stepped up and did that, and he ended up being, just as good a playmaker as there was around. He was our leading. He had 26 catches for 486 yards, 7 touchdowns, and his big play ability seemed to show up in the biggest moments, and that's always what you're asking for when you're talking about a premier player. And hopes to continue his career at the next level. We wish him continued success, and he'll be missed. Dylan Domel. Next is Austin Waltman, senior tight end, 1-year letterman, academic all-district, and he too, like a few others, was an academic all-state player, ranking on the second team academic all-state. Another very hard worker and extremely intelligent football player. Worked very hard to get up through the ranks of the program to be on the varsity as a senior, and he made the most of that experience. And he always was prepared to be in the game at a moment's notice, and those same traits are going to make him extremely successful in his what's next, and his efforts will be missed. Austin Waltman. Andrew Ortman, senior, tight end, 1-year letterman. He, like others, was also an academic all-district player. He worked extremely hard in his time at Smithson Valley. Moved in here a year or two back as an underclassman and quickly embraced our program, its culture and our pace, and his work ethic and commitment to the Ranger way made him a valuable part of our team. And he made the most of his playing time opportunities, and he embodies Smithson Valley football, and we're going to miss that, and we're going to miss him. Andrew Ortman. Next is Skylar Soward, senior, tight end, fullback, 2-year letterman, honorable mention all-district, voted by the coaches, and was academic all-district as well. We may not have had a player improve from junior year to senior year more than Skylar, and we've got some ones who made great improvement, but he's another guy we asked to change positions, move from the O-line, move to tight end, and he unselfishly did that and embraced that, and the move was good for him, and it was real good for us. And he committed to studying the game, studying the position, and was very diligent on making himself a valuable contributor, and he was a big part of our offensive success, and he hopes to continue his career to play some more at the next level, and we wish him well in doing so, and his contributions will be missed. Skylar Soward. Next is Corey Coleman, a junior, another tight end fullback, 1-year letterman. Corey also was academic all-district, put forth tremendous effort his first year in the varsity role, and he very committed to improving and making himself better. And again, as I said earlier, that's not always the case. Most people want to be what they are. He wants to be what he is, but he wants to get better, and that shows up every day. And his role increased as the year went, and we look forward to a strong offseason and an opportunity to contribute in an even bigger role next year as a senior. Glad to have him back. Corey Coleman. So our running backs, tight ends, and fullbacks. Thank you, men. Who? Moving to the stage next is our defensive front guys, our defensive tackles, and our defensive ends. They work together a lot. The defensive tackles are coached by Coach Risen on the far end, and Coach Howe bringing up the rear here coaches our defensive ends. And we're going to introduce these guys together. We'll start with our defensive tackles. First is Jackson Maynard, sophomore, first year to letter. He's honorable mention all-district, voted by the coaches. And he was an academic all-district player as well. He earned a starting position as a sophomore through his work last spring, in the summer, and in fall camp, and exhibited the skills necessary to be not just a competitive player, but a really fine player in a tough league. And on the year, he had 41 tackles. 10 of those were for losses. He had 5 sacks. He recovered a fumble. and he has a great work ethic, and he's very determined to be a good player. And that, coupled with his dedication, we're going to be counting on this young man for 2 years, and we're glad to have him back. Jackson Maynard. Next, Saul McAllister, another sophomore defensive tackle, one-year letterman, an academic all-district player. Saul had high hopes, as we all did, for his sophomore campaign, but he had an off-the-field injury that made it tough. And it was some time on into the season before he was able to get back and really get into playing and improve his level of football. But on the year, within those limited opportunities, he had 3 tackles and in those games later in the year, and he began to learn what this was all about. And he's got a tremendous upside. He's got 2 more years, and with the work ethic that he's showing, you're going to hear a lot about him the next couple of years. Glad to have him back. McAllister Saul. Next is Jade Day. Jade's a senior, a defensive tackle, one-year letterman. Jade was an academic all-district player, made the transition from O to D line during our summer drills and leading into fall camp, and he showed that he was athletic enough to do that, and that's the reason we made the move in the first place. And he did it into one of the most the toughest, one of the most physical positions that we have. And on the year, Jade had 7 tackles, 1 for loss. He also had a sack and helped us some in the special teams as well. And his impact off the field was too. What was also great is he was a great teammate and kept things on the light side. And we're glad that he was here, and we'll miss him. Jade Day. Next is Diego Hamilton, senior. He's a senior, defensive tackle. Diego's a 3-year letterman, voted second team all-district by the coaches of our league. He made that transition over to that position last season, and again, not necessarily his home port, but what our team needed him to do so that we could win at the highest level. And he became a great leader for us. He became a very effective player, as I mentioned, second team all-district. Recorded 35 tackles on the year, 9 for a loss, 6 sacks, and 8 hurries. And was a real hard worker, willing to do whatever it took for us to win. And very hard to block, very athletic, as I mentioned, and his attitude was infectious, and it made our whole defense better, and thus made our whole team better. And we're proud of his contribution, and we will miss him. Diego Hamilton. Next, Sam Cifuentes Schaefer, senior, defensive tackle, 2-year letterman. He was academic all-district, and he was also second team on the academic all-state team. So again, getting it done in the classroom as well as on the field. Became a starter and continued in the starting rotation throughout the whole season. On the year, even though undersized and playing inside, he recorded 35 tackles, 5 for loss, 2 sacks. He recovered a fumble, and his impact on the D-line was much more than those stats that I just mentioned. He's a hard worker. He did things the right way, and that rubbed off on other people. And his playmaking was a big part of our run, and he's exactly what Smithson Valley football is all about, and we will miss him. Sam Cifuentes Schaefer. Next, we'll move to our defensive ends. We'll start with Gavin Woods, junior, defensive end, as I mentioned. 2-year letterman, first team all-district, first team all-San Antonio, and also on the academic all-district team. Tremendous contributor in his second year as a starter. Had 31 solo tackles, 84 total tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 17 sacks, which is a new school record, 20 quarterback hurries, 4 batted balls, recovered a fumble, caused 2 fumbles. And, not only those are statistics, but also, opponents had to account for him. And that made guys around him job a little easier as well. And very smart player, Puts himself in position to make plays all the time. We're excited about that playmaking ability and the fact that we've got him back for another year, so we're looking forward to that. Gavin Woods. Next is Brock Whitaker. Brock's a senior, defensive end, 2-year letterman. Brock was honorable mention all-district on the field. Gave us great performance this year at D-end and also on special teams. Started some, rotated some, played in the kicking game some, did a bunch for us. On the year, he had 44 tackles, 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, and 6 quarterback hurries. And as I said, played in the special teams for us as well. Had a great knowledge of the game, great understanding of the game, and his ever-improving physical skills was able to take that knowledge then and be an impact player up front for us on defense. And you need seniors like Brock that show younger guys the way how to get from where you think you may not make it up to, well, I've made it. And we are proud of him and proud of what he did for us, and we will miss him. Brock Whitaker. Next is Garrett McLean, junior, defensive end. This is Garrett's first year to letter. Worked extremely hard in his first year as a varsity player. His work ethic, his commitment to improvement allowed his role to increase as the year went, and he took advantage of it. Had 7 solo tackles, 24 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and he had 6 hurries. Did all that playing defensive end and some for us in the special teams. He's got a tremendous upside, got a lot of ability, he's got a lot of potential to really be one of the premier players around, and the fact that he's a junior, of course, will give him that opportunity. He's got to have a good offseason, as he's trying to have, and be an impact, a huge impact player for us in 2022. We're glad to have him back. That's McLean Garrett. Next is Diego Brown. Diego's a senior, a defensive end, 1-year letterman. Moved to Smithson Valley about this time a year ago in the off-season program. Made a couple of position changes as we kind of kept moving him around to figure out where he slotted in best for us, and did everything we asked him to do. Found a home at DN, made 6 tackles on the year. Worked better worked hard and got better each day, and he's the kind of example of what we're talking about. You know, where do the parts need to fit for this team to win? Maybe not last year's team or next year's team, but where do the parts got to go for this year's team? And he exemplified that. He's a fine young man, and we certainly are going to miss having him around next year. Diego Brown. Next is Marcus Higuerata, senior, defensive end. Marcus was academic all-district. Found ways to contribute in practice, both special team, scout team, defense. Had a high energy level and ability to have fun while he was working hard and making players around him better. And he is a team guy. He's somebody for our younger players to look up to as they wonder what their role is. And he was a great teammate, always put the team first. And we're proud of what he's done, and look forward to watching him as he moves on to the next phase of his life. And we'll miss having him around. Marcus Higuerata. Next is Dallas Wilson, senior, defensive end, 1-year letterman. He was academic all-district. He, like the other 11, I guess, 12 total, was an academic all-state player, weighing in on the second team, academic all-state. Provided depth for us at defensive end, also in defensive tackle, and some in the kicking game. Had 4 tackles and 1 quarterback hurry on the year. Very team-oriented guy. Works hard, is always ready to do whatever we ask him to do. And his attitude was good, and it was a pleasure to be around. He's a great teammate, and we'll miss having him around, but wish him well moving forward. Dallas Wilson. Those are our defensive tackles and defensive end. Thank you, men. Our next group, as they move on the stage, we're again combining some groups. Our wide receivers and quarterbacks spend a lot of time together, so they'll be introduced together. And we'll also introduce our punter with this group. Coach Jones works with our wide receivers. Coach G. Hill works with our quarterbacks. So let's start with the wide receivers. First is Kyler Clark, a junior, 2-year letterman. Honorable mention on the field, voted by the coaches, honorable mention all-district, and he was academic all-district as well. And, you know, he rebounded from a season-ending injury as a sophomore to being one of our most effective receivers as a junior. He's got great quickness and speed, the ability to make people miss. He rushed for 99 yards on end-arounds and reverses and such. Also had 20 receptions for 169 yards and 1 TD. Averaged 22 yards per punt return and about 20 on kickoff return. So a lot of ways to get the ball in his hands, and he thrived in all of those. He has a great understanding of the game. Not a real talker, which is a good thing, but we're glad to have him back, and I know he's working extremely hard in preparation for what he hopes and we hope will be a great senior year. We're glad to have him. Kyler Clark. Next is Zach McDonald, senior, wide receiver. Zach's a 2-year letterman, second team all-district, voted on by the district's coaches. Also academic all-district. You know, he's got a great love for the game of football and showed not just ability to play, but the mental toughness required to play. You know, battled some injuries that never knocked him out of anything, and you know, showed some toughness there that's pretty uncommon and pretty rare. Made the tough catches, both in the games, of course, and in practice. We're our leading receiver with 24 catches, 367 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Player of, you know, a person of high character and great work ethic, as well as a guy that obviously could play on the field, and gave great leadership to our team and to our group. And we'll have a difficult time replacing him, but we're thankful for our time that he was here. Zach McDonald. Next, Aiden Camacho. Aiden's a senior, wide receiver, 1-year letterman. When you talk about team players, you have to mention Aiden. He could play and did play and asked to play all of our wide receiver spots, and he understood all of those roles, filled in whenever he was asked to, whenever he was needed to. Of course, he had an injury early in the year in one of our scrimmages that kept him out of action for quite a while, and but he kept a positive attitude, kept working and battled his way back, and you know, ended up being one of our core guys in that receiver group. And he earned their respect, earned our coaches' respect and our team's respect, and we were glad to have him around, and we'll miss him. Aiden Camacho. Next is Braden Bafidis, junior, wide receiver, kick returner, 2-year letterman now. Honorable mention all-district, also was academic all-district. And, you know, it didn't take long for Braden to be an impact player. And, you know, he like some others that I've mentioned, filled a lot of roles, wore a lot of hats, and we asked him to do a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, a little of that, and very versatile and used his ability to thrive in all of those roles. He rushed for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 8 catches for 61 yards. He averaged 27 yards per punt return. 2 of those were for touchdowns, and he averaged 32, almost 33 yards per kickoff return, and 1 of those was for touchdowns. So he impacted the game in a lot of ways, but I think more than anything, you know, he's infectious. You know, his motor runs nonstop. He practices at a high pace. That kind of gets contagious, and other guys begin to do that too. So he's a player with ability, but he's a great Ranger. He's a great Ranger culture guy as well, and you know, that's hard. And of course, the beauty of it is we've got him back for another year. We're happy for that, and look forward to seeing what he does in 2022. Braden Bafidis. Next is T.J. Hunt, junior, another wide receiver, 1-year letterman. T.J. was academic all-district as well. He made huge strides this year. From beginning of season till the end, we certainly had a bunch of players improve, but I don't know that any improved at at a faster rate than TJ. Really came into his own, became a student of the game, asked questions about the game, took it to the practice field, made tough catches, people around him, and his ability to catch the ball downfield, really made us better as the year went on, and his minutes increased as the year went. He had 8 catches for 156 yards. 2 of them were for touchdowns. And as I mentioned, he's a junior, so we look forward to having him back next year. TJ Hunt. Next is Colin Wise, junior, wide receiver, 1-year letterman. Colin, like many of them, was academic all-district. He continued to get better and better as the season progressed. His physical ability improved, his ability to perform on the field improved, his football IQ increased, and he understood his role, and we were confident in him filling those roles. He had 2 catches on the year, 14 yards. He continues to improve physically, and of course has another year, and we're looking forward to what 2022 brings for him. Colin Wise. Next is Justin Strick. Justin's a senior, wide receiver, 1-year letterman. He was an academic all-district, and he's another one of those 12 who was academic all-state, earning honorable mention on that team. Very quiet, but extremely hard worker on and off the field. And as a backup, we asked him to play in multiple roles. He did that, did it extremely well, improved as the year went, and began to exemplify what a Ranger football player is all about. And he handled the rigors of classroom, obviously handled the rigors of football practice, and it was a pleasure to coach him, and we wish him well moving forward. Justin Strick. So we'll move to our quarterbacks. Derek Mata is a senior quarterback, 2-year letterman. He was honorable mention all-district voted by the coaches of the district. He was academic all-district, and he too was academic all-state, earning honorable mention recognition there. He also was voted as one of our captains by his teammates. In his 2nd year on varsity, he helped lead our team in 2021. Incredibly intelligent football player and has a great work ethic which allowed him to continue to improve. He lost some time early in the year with an elbow injury, missed a couple of games, bounced back, and helped carry us as we move forward into the playoffs. Completed 60% of his passes, had almost 1,100 total yards, 11 total touchdowns, but he's a true Ranger and has come a long way to be his team's quarterback and one of his captains. We're very proud of him. He'll be missed. Derek Mata. Next, we have Chase Sinelick. Chase is a junior, another quarterback, 2-year letterman. He too was academic all-district. Chase is a very versatile player. You know, as a sophomore, was on our varsity, played a little bit of quarterback, but some inside receiver. And then as a junior, played a little inside receiver and a lot of quarterback, and contributed on special teams as well, and accounted for 360 total yards at quarterback and 6 touchdowns, and made some big special teams plays. 1 or 2 you saw on tape earlier tonight. He even forced a fumble, and brings a great energy to our team. He's a great leader. Of course, he's a junior, and obviously is looking forward to a successful 2022 season. We're looking forward to having him back. Chase Sinelick. Next, we have Manny Osorio, senior. He's primarily a punter, kicked some for us as well. 1-year letterman. He was an all-district player, voted by the other coaches. Academic all-district, and then he was also on one of those 12, as I mentioned, on the academic all-state team. Manny moved here prior to his junior year. This was his 1st year on varsity, and he turned out to be one of the best around at what he does, and is a weapon for us on that punt unit. We kidded him sometimes. There were weeks he didn't get to do much. That offense kept moving the football, and we didn't use old Manny too much. But when he was called on in some crucial moments, he was as good as there was. Continuously pinned the opponents deep with his tumble punt style, and kept giving the other team's offense those long fields, and And, that stuff adds up in the course of a game. And he was also one of our leaders in the locker room, in the school building. There's no doubt that he'll be successful if he gets a chance, hopefully, to play at the next level. But whatever's next for him, he's going to be outstanding at it. And we appreciate all that he's done, and he'll be sorely missed. Manuel Osorio. Wide receivers, quarterbacks, and punters. Thank you, fellas. Now we're going to bring up our last group to be introduced. Our defensive backs, our safeties and cornerbacks that work together a lot. Our safeties are coached by Coach Ulbrich. Our cornerbacks are coached, of course, by Coach B. Westifer, and we're going to include our kicker in this as well since he coaches that young man. We'll start with our safeties. Our first is Tanner Donovan. Tanner's a senior. He's a strong safety, also played in what we call a nickel position. 2-year letterman. Tanner was academic all-district, very talented player, but also got the most of it out of his ability. He put his hard hat on and went to work every day. No one outworked him. I don't think the game meant any more to anyone than it does to Tanner. He blocked kicks, he covered for us on punts and kickoffs, and we just asked him to do a lot of things, and he not only did them, but was fired up to do them. And on the year, he had 58 tackles, defended a lot of passes, intercepted one, had a big return, I think, that we watched earlier, knocked down a few balls as well. But he was a pleasure to coach and a pleasure to be around, and a big part of our success in 2021, and we'll miss him. Tanner Donovan. Next, Camden Egley. Senior, strong safety and a free safety. Cam's a 3-year letterman. He's honorable mention all-district on the field, and he was academic all-district as well. Did a great job for us in his second year of starting at safety. Very focused, very attentive to detail. Made sure we were in the right coverages based on what we recognized, the look that the offense was giving us. He came to work every day and practiced hard and played hard and provided leadership and made guys around him better. And he was a big part of our special teams as well. When you combine defense and special teams, he had 76 tackles, 4 for loss. He had a sack. He recovered a fumble. He's about as fine a young man, about as fine a Ranger football player as you'll find, and we'll miss having him around. That's Camden Egley. Next is David De Hoyos, junior, free safety, 2-year letterman. He was second team all-district, voted by the opponent's coaches. Extreme pleasure to be around. A very talented player, but also a very hard-working player. I've mentioned that a few times tonight. That's when a team is special, when elite players are also hard-working players. That doesn't come around too much. And we're, of course, excited that he has been here and what he's done for 2 years, looking forward to what he'll do moving forward. On the year, he had 62 total tackles. 2 of those were for loss. He caused a fumble. He had an interception and a block punt that he scored on. It's an honor to be around him, and he makes players around him better as well as playing well on the field himself. 2-sport guy that excels in a couple of different arenas, and we'll be proud to have him back in 2022. David De Hoyos. Next is Caden Baumgartner, senior. All right, we'll talk about Caden. He's a senior. He's a nickel and a strong safety for us. He also handled all of our deep snapping, which is outstanding. It's a role that goes unsung, and he took a lot of pride in that. And 2-year letterman, very hard worker, made people around him better, stepped up and just what can I do to contribute, and he found his niche in deep snapping. Of course, contributed on defense as well. Did that both on PATs and field goals, also did that on our punt unit. Had several tackles, several passes defended, but he's a wonderful young man. We're excited to see what's next for him, and we're excited to hold him up as an example to our younger players of, hey, do like he did, find a way to contribute and make us better, and he certainly did that. Caden Baumgartner. Next is Braden Garrett, junior, safety, one-year letterman, academic all-district. Braden was a team guy, did whatever was necessary to make our team better. He had a position change, moving up from the JV to the varsity, played safety for us, as I mentioned, special teams, even helped on the scout team. He's always here, always worked hard, always focused on what we're doing, got a lot of valuable experience as a junior. That's going to position him to have a more significant role even as a senior, and we look forward to having him back. Braden Garrett. Next is Brady Alder, senior, safety, one-year letterman. Brady was an academic all-district player as well. He worked very, very hard for his chance to be on the varsity as a senior after spending a couple of years on the JV, and it was important to him, and he would do whatever it took to help our football team. That was very evident on a daily basis. It made our defense better by not only his contributions at safety, but his work on the scout team, and we'll miss him and the great attitude that he brings to our program every day. Brady Alden. Next is Tanner Hall. Tanner's another senior, another safety, one-year letterman. Great young man. He too does everything we did everything that we asked him to do over a number of years, and helped us get better, both by his role at safety and on the scout team. He's what Smithson Valley football is all about. What do we got to do to help us win? And he's as good a young man as we've had, and we'll miss having him around, but we look forward to watching him as he moves on to his what's next. Tanner Hall. Next is our kicker, Clayton Amaya, sophomore kicker, as I mentioned, one-year letterman, second team all-district, voted by the opposing coaches, academic all-district. Became a very reliable leg for us as a young sophomore stepping into that role. Handle our field goals, handle our extra points, handle our kickoff duties. Had 51 extra points on the year, 4 field goals, and had a number of touchbacks, and was responsible for creating great field position for our defense by pinning opponents deep on kickoffs. He's a talented player, but his work ethic is extraordinary. He is always ready to work, is still always ready to work and be a big part of our team. And the sky's the limit for him, and we're ecstatic to have him back for 2 more years. Clayton Amaya. Next is Jackson Duffy. Start with our cornerbacks now. Jackson's a sophomore cornerback, first year to letter. Honorable mention all-district, voted by the opponents, and he too was academic all-district. Stepped up in his first year on the varsity as a sophomore and became a starting cornerback, which is difficult to do. Had 27 tackles on the year, 3 pass defense, and had 2 interceptions. And dealt with an injury early on, but battled through that to get back into the lineup. Very resilient, very talented young man, and he's got the toughness, the mental toughness, and the physical skills that are required to play out there on an island at cornerback against some of the best around. And we look forward to continuing to work with him and having him back for 2 more years. Jackson Duffy. Next is Garrison Eggleston, senior, cornerback, 2-year letterman. Garrison was second team all-district, voted by the other coaches. We asked him to change positions a year ago. He came from the offensive side of the ball, from receiver over to cornerback. Not only did he not hesitate, he threw himself into it, showed a team first attitude, and he excelled at cornerback. Had 46 total tackles, 7 pass defense. He recovered 2 fumbles. He had 2 interceptions, and he had 1 field goal that he blocked. And not a talker, he's a doer, and practices hard every day. Used the abilities that God gave him, and went to work and made himself a fine Ranger football player, and we're lucky to have him, and he'll be missed. Garrison Eggleston. Next is Zach Genrich, sophomore, another sophomore, cornerback, first year to letter, academic all-district. He's the type of player that, you know, we love having around here. He never has a bad attitude. He embraces his role even as a young player on the team, and he got some quality reps this year at both at cornerback and as a valuable member of some of our special teams. He finished the year with 9 total tackles, 2 pass defense, and he just kept getting better and better and better as his physical skills improved, and his grasp for the game made him a big part of what we did. And of course, we got 2 more years with him, and he'll have a chance to be a guy that a lot of folks will know about, and we're excited to have him back. Zach Ginrich. Next is Andrew Montalvo, a senior, the cornerback, also doubled up some at safety for us later in the year. 2-year letterman. He was academic all-district and one of those 12 that got on the academic all-state team, earning honorable mention recognition there. His role on our team was critical to his success. He provided experience and leadership at a couple of different positions. Had some experience coming back from 2020 and came back into 2021. And as I said, we made him wear a couple of hats, but he did so willingly. Had 7 total tackles, 7 pass defense, had 1 interception, a big one, you know, at a crucial time down here in the end zone when we needed something good to happen. And his character was evidenced by how he continually supported his teammate and encouraged and gave advice to our younger players. So he's a guy that made an impact on the field as well as off the field, and we wish him well as he moves forward, and we're excited to have him for 4 years. Andrew Montalvo. Next is Lance Zuber, another senior, cornerback. Lance was a 2-year letterman. He's an academic all-district player as well, and he's one of those 12 academic all-state guys getting honorable mention recognition there. Lance worked very hard in the off-season to increase his role from his junior year to his senior year, and he did so, playing cornerback throughout the year, also part of some of our kick coverage teams. He finished the year with 12 tackles and 2 pass defense. And I don't think anybody could outwork him in practice, and that made his teammates better as well, as not just making himself better. And he's a good role player, very valuable part of our success, and he's perhaps even a better young man than player. And we're sad to see him go, but his future's bright, and we thank him for his time here. That's Lance Zuber. Those are our safeties and cornerbacks. Thank you, man. That concludes our introductions, and just to summarize the season, anytime your season ends, your playoff team like we've been for years here, and so it ends suddenly. Whenever it ends suddenly, and you don't expect it, and then it just happens. And it's always hard to know what to say. It's always hard to know how to convey what you want to say about them or to them, and like I said earlier, it's just a group that did it right at a place where that's kind of the norm, and but yet to be able to stand out and to be able to stand out on team camaraderie, leadership, work ethic, those corny things that people talk about all the time, but really don't show up as much as people would like. This team had it in droves, and that's a tribute to our seniors, but it's a tribute to our underclassmen as well. They blended well together. Have 71 players, that's 71 individuals, dozen coaches or so, and dozen coaches' wives, 71 players' mamas, 71 players' daddies, 71. You add all those numbers up, that's a lot of people. And to keep everybody herded together and going towards the same gate is hard to do. And our players, they did it better than any that I've known. And the 2022 team is being formed just as we speak. I mean, they're going through off season. Boot camp starts next week. I mean, we've got some things that we're looking forward to doing, and I'm very encouraged with their efforts so far. I'm I'm very optimistic towards the ability to get to what our goals will be. But if they do it, it'll be because they know what it looks like. You know, they got to live it. They got to be a part of it, or they got to see it. And, you know, I tip my hat to our seniors, but as I said, to our underclassmen as well. This was a unique ball club, and so I just wanted to say that. I know we introduced some individuals there, but these guys did it right. And, you know, so I'd like just one time just to give one round of applause to the entire 2021 football team. We're gonna conclude our evening with a handful of presentations. The first is present our captains. As I introduced players, I made note of guys who were voted captains. You know, each year as our season ends, we ask our players to vote on captains, and they select individuals who, in their opinion, best reflected leadership on and off the field and inspired the team to be what they were. And at this time, I'll present these 4 young men to you. And guys, if you'll come on up, we have can't see just real good there. Okay, we have senior, of course, Derek Mata, our quarterback. We have senior Malachi Lane, senior Colton Shepler, and senior Britt Stoley. And we had a lot of great leadership on this team. So for you 4 guys to be voted this honor by your captain, to be voted captain by your teammates, tremendous honor, and I congratulate you. And these are your 2021 football captains, Smithson Valley High School. I think we've got 1 or 2 of them going to offer a few comments, so I'm going to yield the stage and let those guys do that.
A little nervous. Y'all hear me? Good? Okay. I just want to start by saying thank you to my parents for getting me here when I could not get myself here, early mornings and late afternoons. By the way, if your parents are still taking you, tell them thank you, because 5:30 sucks just as much for them. I promise. I would also like to thank the entire coaching staff for sacrificing their own time with their family just to be here working to not only make the Rangers a better football team, but to make us exceptional men in the real world. As for my experience in Smithson Valley Ranger football, I believe I'm the perfect example of trusting the process. Going from 7th and 8th grade, I was on B team. Really thought I wanted to quit. It wasn't very fun for me. I didn't like it. And then I kind of just stayed with it. In junior year, I made varsity, kept staying with it. And then to now to be voted a senior captain, I truly believe in trusting the process. And none of that just magically happened. All it took was me just believing in the class, the discipline, effort, and perseverance. As for the 2021 season, we started very hot, going 7-0. Although we ran into some hiccups along the way, we always found a way to bounce back. After beating Madison in the first round and making it onto the second round and taking a close loss to Bowie, it was definitely nothing short but devastating. Finally, saying goodbye to all my teammates and coaches who have seen me more than my own family for the last 4 years is definitely the hardest, but I would definitely not take a second of it back. Thank you.
Thank you, Britt, and congratulations to these guys. And again, quite an honor. And I'll ask you to to stay up here with me on stage as we make a few other presentations. If the McDonald, the Hambrick, and Camacho family could make their way up on the stage, we've got just a few gifts from the 2021 Rangers that we'd like to present. So, if y'all could make your way up. To the McDonald's and the Hambricks, we present some 2021 helmets as tokens of our appreciation for the outstanding job you did as serving as our varsity team reps. Thank you, McDonald and Hambricks. And to the Camacho family, we also present a 2021 helmet for being so unselfish and with the act of opening your home for our team dinners throughout the season. Thank you to the Camacho family. We make one final presentation tonight. I say this each year, we're not a big individual award team. We don't really do that. We got pretty plain uniforms. We don't try to be real flashy. We just try to win, and we try to win a certain way. So we're not constantly touting players, MVPs, most valuable this or that. It's just not what we do. We just give one individual award, and it was established years ago, long before I came. It's the Jim Worthy Award, and Brandy Norton, who works here at Smithson Valley, she's the sister of Jim Worthy, the one that the award is named after, and she's here tonight to help us make the presentation, and we're honored by her presence and her willingness to bring to light the memory of her late brother. So Brandy, if you'll come up, I'll give you the floor. Brandy Norton.
Thank you, Coach. Good evening, Rangers. As Coach said, my name is Brandy Norton. I'm honored to be here this evening to present the Jim Worthy Award. My family has a long history here at Smithson Valley. My husband and I graduated from here. My daughter Grace is currently a junior. Pardon me. And my big brother Jim was part of the Smithson Valley class of 1985. Tragically, 1 week before the beginning of his senior year, Jim was killed due to a freak accident doing some hitting and tackle drills at his summer football practice. The rim at the base of his helmet severed the spinal cord at the base of his neck, and he perished on the very field that many of you played on not so long ago at the campuses that is what is now known as Smithson Valley Middle School. Due to his untimely death, his number 75 was retired, and this award was founded in his memory. While Jim has been gone 37 years, I was 9 years old at the time, my family continues to celebrate the great game of football. We're here at Ranger Stadium every Friday night, Saturday, college football. Oh yeah, go Longhorns. Sorry, Colton. Sunday and Monday, NFL. To this day, we love the game. However, when a player goes down or takes a little too long to get back up, we as Jim's family say an extra prayer for you, the player, but also for your parents, because we know truly the worst that can happen on that field. In fact, on average, there are 3 deaths per year in high school and college football due to traumatic brain injury and spinal cord injuries here in the United States. To present his memorial award, I want to convey to you that this award is a memory of his life, not his death. My brother was truly your all-American boy next door, and the son every parent was proud to have, the brother every little girl could look up to, the friend every student could lean on, and the player every coach looked forward to leading his team. Jim was a great student. Well, a B. In fact, for many years after his death, we continued to receive recruitment letters from colleges all over the country. Jim strived to be a better athlete. Long before the days of CrossFit, he had my dad fill a tire with concrete, and he would wrap it around his waist and drag it back and forth down the football field, destroying the grass, but making him a better athlete. He also was in track, and instead of practicing with a regulation 12-pound shot put, he found a 16-pound because it would make him better. But to me, the most important part of his character is a story I will continue to tell every year so that those who are not here in previous years know, and those who have been here and heard this story before are reminded of the kind of gentleman that he was and who you are representing as a recipient of this award. The story best represents Jim as a man of compassion, He wanted the best for others rather than himself. A fellow student and football player's family moved to another state, and this particular student insisted on staying here at Smithson Valley because he knew that where his family was going was not the future that he wanted for himself. Come to find out, Jim learned that this student was homeless, hungry, and living in a tent behind the school. When Jim learned that his only food was what he could get from the cafeteria, his showers were in the locker room, Jim worked tirelessly to find a family friend to bring the student into their home so that he could stay here at Smithson Valley and finish high school. I am proud to say that this very student went on to join and retire from the Air Force. And to this day, this student is a dear family friend who attributes his success to Jim's relentless pursuit to not allow him to fail. He even named his son after my brother. In celebration of his life and who he was, not only as a player, but also as a leader on and off the field, this award was established as the Jim Worthy Memorial Award. This award is not about yardage, it's not about sacks, it's not about field goals or points. This award annually goes to a senior football player who best meets the following criteria. You have a great attitude and character. You are dependable and honest. You maximize your talents to the fullest. You have an extreme loyalty and dedication to the Ranger way. You play with compassion, class, and fanatical effort. When you play the caliber of competition that you play this year and every year here at Smithson Valley, you have to have a number of players who fit the criteria just mentioned. Know that this award is discussed and voted on by the very coaching staff that sees your dedication and your character day in and day out, on and off the field. This year's winner is selected and voted on by the very coaches, by the very coaches that see you. This player loves the game of football. He is indeed a talented player. His ability is not his best quality, though. Rather, he is known for his love of the game, his selfless nature, his commitment to the Ranger way, to his coaches, to his fellow teammates. His hustle, his tenacity, his leadership, and his drive help define your team. I would also like it to be known that this was almost a unanimous decision by your coaches. For that commitment, tonight we honor this year's Jim Worthy Memorial Award winner, Britt Stoley.
Thank you so much, Brandy, and congratulations, Britt. I just told him it's a long way from the B team, and some of you guys are thinking, well, maybe I don't know if I'll get there one day. Well, he did. He did, and I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of all you guys. And as we close the evening, I just want to thank some people again, the team reps for making this possible. Thank the parents as a whole for kind of lending us your son throughout the year. And, I think one of them said it earlier, a lot of times they're spending more time with us than they are with you. And we try not to take that for granted and do a good job with them. But I'll tell you, it's not a very difficult task given the background and the upbringing that our kids have. And Ranger football is special, and it's special because of everybody in this room, everybody in our community. It's no one individual or one team or one player. It's all of it. And we got high hopes in 22, and we plan on achieving every one of our goals. But as I said, that's not what tonight's about. Tonight's about 2021, and we congratulate the freshman teams, the JV teams, the varsity teams, bid farewell to our seniors and our senior parents, and go Rangers. And we hope you'll have a safe trip home, and thanks for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.